Shonen has always had a rhythm. It's a formula we know by heart. A young hero, chasing greatness, defying limits, shouting their way into legend. But then, Frieren arrived, and everything went quiet. No rival, no tournament, no grand speeches about never giving up. Just a woman walking, remembering, regretting, moving forward, even when nothing is chasing her. In a world where anime often screams to be heard, Frieren whispers, and somehow it echoes louder. Hey, it's Hollow Name, and today we're exploring why Frieren Beyond Journey's End isn't just different from Shonen, it might be everything that's missing.
To understand what makes Frieren so special, we need to understand what it's standing against. Shonen anime isn't just a genre, it's a framework, a set of storytelling conventions built to excite, to energize, and to empower. At its core, the classic shonen hero arc is about overcoming limits, physical, emotional, moral. Naruto dreams of being Hokage. Deku wants to be the symbol of peace. Luffy seeks the One Piece. These characters start weak, but their willpower and ideals propel them to greatness. And how do they get there? With rivals to push them, power systems to master, training arcs, tournament arcs, epic villains that threaten the world. Each episode is a step toward a dream that feels impossibly distant. It works, it's thrilling, but it also creates a cycle, a loop of escalation, louder fights, bigger stakes, higher power levels. Eventually, the goal is overshadowed by the next big twist. That's where Frieren enters the picture and breaks the loop.
In most shonen stories, the journey begins at the bottom. The hero has everything to prove. In Frieren, the journey begins after the hero's victory. The Demon King is already defeated, the legendary party has disbanded, peace has returned. The story opens not with a call to adventure, but with a quiet reunion. This single choice reframes everything. Frieren is already powerful. She doesn't need to grow stronger. There's no world-ending threat, no looming villain. Her arc isn't about physical growth, it's about emotional understanding. And that shift is radical. Because instead of chasing greatness, Frieren explores what happens after greatness. What do you do when the adventure ends and you're the only one left standing? That question, simple, heartbreaking, and profound, is what drives the entire series. Frieren herself is the perfect anti-shonen protagonist. She doesn't scream her ideals. She doesn't rally the team with speeches. In fact, she barely speaks at all. She's calm, distant, reserved. At first glance, she's cold, even indifferent, but that coldness isn't emotional apathy. It's the detachment of someone who's lived far too long. Her immortality isn't power fantasy, it's emotional tragedy. She has outlived her friends and will outlive her students. Time, for her, is endless, and that makes moments fleeting. She's disconnected, not because she doesn't care, but because she's afraid of caring too deeply. Compare this to a character like Naruto. His greatest strength is his ability to connect, to make people believe in something. Frieren, on the other hand, avoids connection because she knows she'll lose it. The emotional stakes are reversed. For Naruto, bonds are everything. For Frieren, bonds are everything she tries not to feel. That reversal is powerful, and it tells us something deeply human. The longer we live, the harder it becomes to open our hearts. But what about conflict? After all, Shonen thrives on it. Here's where Frieren truly stands apart. The conflict in this series isn't driven by fights, though fights do happen. It's driven by memory, by regret, by emotional dissonance. The demons Frieren faces aren't just enemies, they're reminders of who she used to be. Her real struggle is internal, coming to terms with what she never said, what she never felt, what she let pass by. In one of the early episodes, when Frieren stands before Himmel's corpse and silently begins to cry, we understand. The true villain is time. It took her friends, it dulled her emotions, and now it's forcing her to remember them too late. This isn't a show about saving the world. It's a show about saving meaning, about preserving memory before it fades. That's a type of conflict that Shonen rarely touches, because it's not explosive. It's quiet, lingering, slow, and yet it hits harder than any punch. Stillness is Frieren's secret weapon. Where Shonen thrives on momentum, Frieren thrives on pause. Moments of silence, of characters simply sitting, thinking, remembering. These are the core of its emotional power. The anime dares to let things breathe. It lets grief linger. It lets memories echo. It doesn't rush toward catharsis. It waits for it. And that patience mirrors real life. Healing takes time. Understanding takes time. Frieren doesn't just teach that, it shows it. In a world of anime that gets faster every year, Frieren slows down. And in doing so, it becomes unforgettable. What makes Frieren so poignant is not just that it breaks shonen rules, but that it replaces them with something real. Fragility, mortality, a deep awareness that time moves on with or without us. Every bond she forms on her new journey is shadowed by the memory of bonds she's already lost. Himmel, Heiter, Eisen, they were more than comrades. They were a family she never realized she needed until they were gone. This grief is never spelled out in dramatic monologues. It's seen in her hesitation to smile, in the way she watches Fern with quiet maternal curiosity, in her pauses before answering questions that cut too close to old wounds. Unlike typical shonen heroes who chase connection, Frieren cautiously lets it approach her, and even then, only on its own terms. And that realism, that emotional subtlety, makes the few moments of connection feel sacred. There is no tournament arc that can capture the weight of learning to love again. But Frieren presents a new kind of strength, the strength to remember, the strength to mourn, to forgive, to keep walking, even when you know loss is inevitable. She doesn't grow more powerful, she grows more present, more aware of what each moment costs and what it gives. That shift from power to presence is what makes Frieren so mature, so quietly devastating, and it's the reason fans have connected with her. Because deep down, we know that emotional endurance is harder than any training arc. You don't need a rival to push you forward. Sometimes just remembering who walked beside you is enough. Another way Frieren breaks the shonen mold is through how it frames legacy. Most shonen anime show legacy through big external symbols, statues, titles, inherited powers. But Frieren treats legacy as something deeply internal. In one of the most subtle but powerful moments, she reflects on Himmel's kindness, not because he wanted to be remembered, but because he wanted others to feel remembered. He left behind no grand speeches, just the memories that lived on in the hearts of others. Frieren begins to understand that legacy isn't about being a legend. It's about being present in people's lives. The long walk she takes is less about distance and more about depth. Every village she visits, every quiet act of kindness she sees or replicates, becomes a thread in the tapestry of her soul. And that idea, that the truest legacy is emotional resonance, makes the story linger long after the episode ends. If we look at Frieren's arc through the lens of the hero's journey, it doesn't follow the pattern at all. There is no clear refusal of the call, no dramatic resurrection. Instead, the journey is inward, reflective. Her ordeal is grief. Her elixir is understanding. Most shonen stories end with the hero achieving their goal, but Frieren's story begins there. It dares to ask the one question most anime avoid: what comes after the ending? And in answering that question, it quietly reshapes what it means to be a hero. Not someone who saves the world, but someone who carries its memory. Someone who witnesses, who endures. There's a quiet bravery in that, and it's rare. The success of Frieren also reflects something deeper happening in anime culture. Audiences are evolving. Many of us who grew up watching shonen are no longer kids. We've experienced loss, regret, loneliness. We don't just want power fantasies anymore. We want stories that speak to where we are now. That's why Frieren resonates. It doesn't ask you to be loud. It doesn't ask you to win. It just asks you to listen, to feel, to remember. And maybe that's the kind of heroism we need more of. Frieren may not fit the shonen mold, but it doesn't reject it out of cynicism. It reinterprets it with honesty. It asks, what happens after the story ends? What comes after the cheers fade and the statues are raised? The answer it gives is gentle and bittersweet. You keep walking. You learn to listen, to remember, to grieve, and maybe, if you're lucky, to love again. In a medium obsessed with growth, Frieren dares to explore what it means to slow down. Beyond Journey's End doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't try to prove anything. It just lingers in memories, in silences, in the spaces between what was said and what was left behind. And somehow, through all that quiet, It reaches deeper than stories 10 times louder. Maybe that's what makes it so powerful. It trusts us to listen, to slow down, to feel the weight of time, and to sit with it. So I want to hear from you. What part of Frieren stayed with you the longest? Was it a line, a moment, a silence? Let's talk about it in the comments.